Welcome everyone. Welcome to Members Week, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Andrea Rowe, and I'll be moderating today with my colleague Lindsay Feistemel. Today, we'll be turning things over to Amanda Leslie to learn about the Drexel University's Biodiversity, Earth, and Environmental Science Program, or BEES, as we like to call it. After Amanda presents, you'll have the chance to ask her your questions about the program. So let's show you how you can do that. If you don't have video or microphone capabilities, you'll want to use the chat window to type your questions. You'll see the icon to open the chat at the bottom of your screen. Also at the bottom of your screen is the participants panel. If you would like to ask your questions directly, please open that participants panel and click the raise hand button. That will let us know that you have a question, and Lindsay and I will be able to unmute your microphone so you can ask directly. Now, to tell us more about the BEES department, I'd like to introduce Amanda Leslie. Amanda is the department administrator for the BEES department. Beyond managing the admissions and recruitment process and coordinating communication efforts for the department, she also manages the planning and operation of the DESLA summer camp program for high school students. That's a lot of stuff, Amanda. That's impressive. So I will now turn this over to Amanda. After her presentation, we'll be keeping an eye out for raised hands and questions in the chat.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to Lindsay and Andrea for organizing this along with their other colleagues. And I have some plants in the audience. My boss, the department head, David Zielinski, is here, and my colleague, Roger Thomas, operations manager for the department. So they're gonna help if I mess anything up.
No judgment.
No judgment. So I'm gonna share my screen. I'll say I stole this from David, this PowerPoint presentation. Okay. So welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn from Members Week. During a normal members night, we would have a table set up kind of talking about the same thing I'm going to talk about today, just kind of an overview of the department and just field any questions you have. So it's more for you all in case you have questions about our department and kind of the ANS Drexel relationship. Our motto for the department is field experience early and often, and you'll see why in the next few screens. So Drexel University has been around since the 1890s. The Academy has been around since 1812. And in 2012, they began a great partnership. And so now it's the Academy of Natural Sciences of Drexel University, as you probably all know. And so many of the scientists at the Academy are now faculty in our department, partnering with other faculty that were already on campus to make our one big BEES family. So over at the Academy, once again, as you know, it's America's oldest natural history museum, and there's three kind of like research and science centers at the Academy: CISB, the Center for Systematic Biology and Evolution, the Patrick Center for Environmental Research, and the Library and Archives. And so our faculty are the senior scientists for CISB and the Patrick Center, but our faculty and students work closely with all of the scientists and staff in these three different sections, and even public programming and volunteering and whatnot in the Academy, which you'll see in the next few slides as well. So in our department, we have three undergraduate majors: environmental science, geoscience, and environmental studies and sustainability. And then we also have a master's, either thesis or non-thesis, in environmental science, and then a PhD in environmental science. So within the environmental science degree, there's two concentrations. This is a little bit, if you look on our website, it's a little bit updated from what's on the website. The website will be updated soon. We can't update it yet just because of like accreditation guidelines. So these are the new concentrations. We have applied environmental science, and you can see some of the topics there that is covered in that concentration. And then in the ecology and evolution concentration, what topics are covered there. Obviously there's some overlap, but it's to allow students to, really hone in on what they're interested in, during college and then also after college for their careers. And then for the geoscience degree, you can see some topics that are covered in classes and in research. And then the same for environmental studies and sustainability. I won't bore all of you and read these aloud. You get the gist, right? And then here's just a smattering of courses that we have. Some of these, are in the classroom, some of them are out in the field or a mix. Students can take these basically anytime after, I think, like freshman, sophomore year. So these are kind of upper level classes. You can see that they're like much more specific than kind of the general like 101 classes that we have the students take the first year. And so I'm going to kind of go over like the timeline almost of undergraduates in the department. And so one of the first things that happens for our new students is that they actually, at the beginning of Drexel Welcome Week, their freshman year, they get to go with us down to our field station in Barnegat Bay in Waretown, New Jersey. They get to spend a long weekend there before Welcome Week starts, learning about all these different environments and learning about different research opportunities they can get involved with down at Barnegat Bay, and then just in general. So kind of learning how the department functions and meeting some faculty and staff. This is a group from a couple years ago. You can kind of see there's like staff and faculty on either side of them. And we didn't get to do it this year because everything's been remote, but we're going to hopefully be able to do it with the freshmen either probably in the spring or the summer, or maybe even next fall, and then hopefully being able to start up again next fall for the new freshmen then going out to Barnegat Bay. So we get to stay there all weekend, we provide the food, and it's a great way for them to bond and meet each other before classes even start. And then throughout their time at Drexel and in the Bees department, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved with research in different faculty labs and within classes and volunteering or for research credit, all of the above. Here's just a smattering of sites that we have where they can get into different type of topics. And a lot of it's kind of the sky's the limit. It's like if they come up with different topics that they're interested in, they work with faculty and staff to figure out like places and ways to get involved in that research. I think like the top right corner is Professor O'Donnell down in, I think either Costa Rica or Ecuador. On the left, the student with the fish is down at FDR Park in Philadelphia. And then the one on the bottom right, I'm pretty sure that's in the Wissahickon, but I might be wrong. So in Philadelphia as well in one of the classes. And another way to get involved with research is presenting at Research Day. We do this every 2 years. We just had it this past February. On the left are just 3 different posters that we had from 2 undergrads and a grad student. On the right is the poster that I made to advertise Research Day. So we had about, I think like 20 or 30 different students give posters out in the PSBE lobby, if anyone's ever been in PSBE. And then we also had some of those students give presentations as well. And it was really great. We had the dean there. I think we had the dean of research, the VP of research, excuse me. And it was great. We had a great time, great snacks. Fun had by all. And then here's some of the faculty research. These are all faculty out in the fields doing some research, and you can see to the right different topics that they explore. Loic on the right's our resident volcanologist. Jason on the top right is a curator at the Academy for ornithology and also faculty. Beth is a section leader for wetlands ecology. Bottom left is Ted Deschler in Antarctica, and he's a paleontologist. And then the bottom right is Jocelyn Sessa, also a paleontologist out in the field. And so students are able to, get involved in these faculty's lab, possibly work on grants, and possibly even go out in the field with the faculty on their own research. So then this is just a quick smattering of where our faculty and students have done research all around the world. Ted Deschler, which some of you might know, he's done research up all the way in the top of Canada and at the bottom of the world in Antarctica. And it's just everyone's been everywhere in between, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty jealous that they get to go to all these cool places. And then here's just some pictures from the field. One of these is even actually just from Philadelphia in the bottom right corner. The middle and the top, that's also from FDR Park, Barnegat Bay. I think the volcano's in Indonesia, right? Yep, David's nodding yes. So it's pretty good. And then I guess, and then the labs over at the academy. So one of the other cool parts about being a Drexel student, which you're probably aware of, is the co-op. So students can do up to 3 6-month-long co-ops. Usually they do it in different places. Sometimes they'll do, maybe 2 academy co-ops and some place else, but it really just depends. Some of them can be more in the collections. You can see the ones on the right. That's the malacology collection and the invert paleo collection, or the ones on the left where you're going out more in the field. Jakob in the bottom left corner is doing a water quality monitoring research right there. I think Roger was probably with him that day. And then the center, Julia, was working on the muscle research project that Roger leads as well. So it can be a lot of different things. And you can see here some of our different employers. These are just a different grouping of employers that a lot of our students end up working with, but really it can be anything. Students are also able to find their own co-ops, but usually they work with a co-op office, and employers work with a co-op office as well. They post the jobs there and the students can see them and apply for them and whatnot. If you have more questions about how that works, I'm happy to answer that as well. And then another fun thing, you can see me in the bottom right corner, is that we get to engage with the students at the academy. They get to help us with promoting the bees department and the collections and all the research that's going on at the academy on different events and nights. Back from the field and toast the collection and members nights are all different like members events. The top right corner is from members night like 2 or 3 years ago, I think. I think the one and the other two are too, actually. The bottom right one's from toast the collection. But then they also get involved with like the Dino Hall prep lab. So if they're out on the floor in the prep lab, they're obviously interacting with people, telling them about what they're working on in the prep lab that day. And then just in general, a lot of our students do volunteer with public programming and learning. So they're out on the floor, they're talking with little kids, they're talking with families, they're explaining, what they're doing in their classes, what research they're working on. So it's pretty cool for the students to get to interact with the public in that way in the museum setting. And so just kind of a quick wrap up of, different career opportunities for students in environmental science, geoscience, or environmental studies, government and regulatory jobs. Like we have students that have gone on to work at the EPA and different government agencies, environmental research, especially we have a lot of students that go on and work with the scientists at the academy, geotechnical studies, environmental policy and law. We have a lot of students that go on to get like MSs in public policy and environmental policy. Urban planning, same thing with like urban planning degrees, and then other, graduate school and academia. So becoming professors, doing research, all that jazz. And I just wanted to end on, like Andrea said, I'm in charge of kind of the back end administrative part of our high school summer camp. So if you are, any high school students, rising juniors and seniors, so like currently sophomores and juniors. If you know anyone who's interested in our summer camp, please pass along this information. Obviously, please have them reach out to me. I'd love to chat about it. This past summer, we didn't get to run our 3 camps in person. We actually just did 1 week of virtual camp, which actually had of over 40 people enroll, which was great. We had students from 10 different states. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, we're going to be able to run these 3 camps this coming summer. But we'll see what happens. And if not, we'll run virtual camp. If we do, we might run all 3 plus virtual camp. We haven't figured it out yet. So it's very cool. We have, I guess it's been 8 years now, 7 or 8 years since the Barnegat Bay and Lackawanna camps have been running. And then Red Lodge, this would have been the 3rd summer. So we've done it for 2 summers. And the one out in Montana is more paleontology and geoscience focused. The ones at Lackawanna and Barnegat are more either shore or lake ecology focused. But they're all amazing camps. We always just get great reviews. It's really fun for the students, the faculty and staff. We have a lot of the bees students, undergrad and graduate, come along to and staff the camps. And so that's just a really great like bonding experience for everyone involved. So. And that's it. So any questions, we'll take them now. And our emails are there in case you'd like to contact us. Ooh, we got some questions.
This is great, Amanda. So we do have our first question in the chat from Dan. Dan wants to know what is the most popular bees course, and why is it so popular?
That is a great question. I'm wondering if David knows the
I know
answer
it's
to
coming
that.
back to me. I would say, if you go just by the numbers of students in a class, it's our class that Amanda Lowe teaches called Natural Disasters. That has like 120 students in it from across the university. You can just imagine present day with with climate change and world issues around the world. That class, from hurricanes, wildfires, that class is very popular. I would say that in our major classes like conservation biology, general ecology, those are probably some of the more popular ones that we have. And it's, I think, a testament to the great professors and the great subject matters that we're going over. That we have, well-attended, general classes. We do have smaller, more, specific classes. Like systematic biology doesn't get a lot of students, but how many students across the university are interested in systematic biology? So you could just see how it vacillates.
They all should be interested in systematic biology.
I know they're all interested in oceanography, my class. So I'll just say, I'll leave it at that.
We have another good question in the chat. This is from Dick, and this is actually a great group to ask about this. Dick wants to know if the Academy still has a limnology department.
I'll take that one.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I know the answer, but David actually has the real answer. So.
Yeah, the Department of Limnology or Limnology Department was founded under Ruth Patrick, and eventually that was renamed, I think in 80-something, as the Patrick Center for Environmental Research. So it's still there. It's renamed for Dr. Patrick, and it still does work within the area of freshwater and marine waters environmental science.
Yeah, it's an incredibly active part of the Academy's overall science work, and a group that students in the Bees department would be able to work with quite a bit. Several of their professors are part of that department.
Yeah, and one thing to just note on the class side, and this is something that Amanda mentioned, but is that what we try to do for our department is get the students out into the field doing field work from day one of the quarter that they start in their freshman year. And we have a class, Introduction to Environmental Science. It's a field-based class, it's the NBS 101, in which the students go into a bunch of different areas, from Valley Forge to the Wissahickon to Fairmount Park, to look at environmental science with a hands-on approach. So that's, our motto is field experience early and often.
Thinking about my own classes that I took in science, and dearly wishing a program like this had existed when I was in school. I think that's so important and such an important part of this program. From day one, the things you're studying are real. You're able to literally get elbows deep in what you're learning.
Right.
That's super fun, super encouraging.
You might have noticed in one of the pictures Amanda showed, the students were out in a marsh up to their waist in mud, which happens in the field class, happens in research.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions for this group? Anything about what it's like to be a student, or some of the things people are learning in classes, or more about the DESLA program?
I was just curious to hear what the most popular undergrad degree is for the Bees program.
Amanda, I think it's it's the environmental science.
It's environmental science. Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do too with just like the makeup of the country, almost, of like what students are more aware of going into college. Drexel, you kind of have to declare going in. You can declare on like undeclared science, but most people don't. Most people come in with a major, and so people are just kind of more aware of environmental science. especially if they've taken like AP environmental science in high school. So we got a lot of students from that. And so it's definitely more of a unique student who like knows they want to do geoscience. A lot of times they know they want to get into like petrology, or they know they want to get into paleontology, so they come in as a geoscience major. And then environmental studies and sustainability students kind of, they know that they want to do more of the like humanities, like holistic approach to environmental science. But yeah, so those two majors a little bit smaller. So then we end up getting a lot of the environmental science students who then end up switching into those majors too. But yeah, definitely environmental science for sure.
How many students do you have in the undergrad program right now?
We have about like 150 across,
oh, wow.
Like the 4 to 5 years, right? Because Drexel students can do either 4 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think we're like the 3rd largest department in the college, which we like to like tout and, you know, brag to other departments in the college, because there's 13 departments. And it's great because I think it's like big enough that you can like do a lot of really cool, interesting things, but it's small enough that it feels like very personable. And like, I know a lot of the students really well. David and Roger can say the same thing too. So you can really like learn, like get to know the students really well, because it's not that big. And it makes us like nimble too. I feel like we can do a lot of like cool, innovative things because there's not so many students that we have to serve, which is great.
Right. I mean, it's nice that in 2013, we started with maybe 25 students. 2012, 13, we had maybe 25 students. And now we have 150. So
That's fabulous.
that's a good, I like it to be a little bit bigger, but that's, it is good.
We're working on it.
It means it's a good program if it's growing that rapidly.
Yeah.
And yeah, Amanda, I think it's so important what you said, that it's a big enough program that you get to do really cool things, but still small enough that you always know your professors. I know just working at the academy and seeing our students in our building, I get to know a lot of them too. And they have really cool experiences because of the museum that I don't think students may in programs elsewhere. Just being able to work with or have access to educators who are working with science in a completely different way is so exciting. Or, some of the public communications sides of science that might not be quite as accessible in other programs. Ooh, we have another good question from Dan in the chat over here. So Dan wants to know if we can still provide the field experiences during the COVID situation that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk a little bit about DESLA, and then maybe Roger, if you want to talk about what's been going on this fall. So with DESLA, we had it in August. We had to cancel the in-person ones in like May, I think. And so what we decided to do was we called it DESLA at home. And so what ended up happening was every day we had a different topic for the week, and we would have kind of this introduction in the morning, and then the students would actually go out into like their own backyards or their local parks, local streams, even like local streets, to do the activity that was introduced in the morning. And then we would kind of regroup in the afternoon and talk about what they had learned. So that was one way that we got them kind of out into the field, but like being safe, because in theory they were kind of just by themselves or with one other person. Obviously, we cautioned them with all of the COVID precautions. But it seemed to work really well, especially we had students from 10 different states. So it was very cool seeing like all the different comparing and contrasting of like what they were seeing when they were going outside. So that was what we did for DESLA. Roger, if you want to take away what's going on this term.
Sure. Despite the COVID situation, we have 2 ENVS classes and 1 geo class where we've actually mailed out or delivered materials that we would normally use in the class. So we, some colleagues of mine, we actually shipped collecting materials and rock samples to students that they could use as during the remote classes. Say in the geo class, they talk a little bit about sandstones. Well, the students there will have an actual sandstone sample that they can look at. And in plants and animals, where we're asking students to go out in their neighborhood or in parks close by to collect plant materials, we send them clippers and containers that they can actually collect materials and bring them back to their homes and look at them as part of their online class.
I bet that's been really kind of exciting in a way, you know, with students geographically so spread out. They would naturally be collecting things in their own backyard that makes a really cool sample or collection for the whole class. You know, if you have a student in, I don't know, Arizona, they're going to be finding something much different than if they're in Philadelphia.
That's quite true. We've actually sent out binoculars too. So as part of the plants and animals class, the students will go out in different parts of the U.S. and do a bird survey and present those data back. It really is pretty cool, even though the COVID situation, we're able to reach out and students were able to participate doing the kinds of things that they would do here on campus.
That's great. You guys are definitely doing a fantastic job of making this as engaging as possible. Any other good questions for this group? This has been really great.
I had one last one. You obviously talked a little bit about Academy scientists and how they are tied into the bees program, but can you just talk a little bit more generally about exactly what Academy scientists are doing as part of the bees program? Our members are so familiar with them, so would like to hear more.
Yeah, I can start, and then David and Roger feel free to add in. So in CISB and in the Patrick Center, most of, not all of, but most of the senior scientists who lead the different sections are also faculty. So they have appointments where they manage their section, they manage the research going on in the section, and if they have like staff in those sections, and then they also have teaching responsibilities and like service responsibilities to the university. So like being on committees and things like that. And then their research portfolio like is a joint kind of thing, right? Because obviously any regular faculty at a university has to still do research if they're tenure track. And so it's kind of just like, I think of it as like, it's their bees faculty that like their labs happen to be at the academy, or like, right, Jason Weckstein, the ornithologist, right? His like lab is like the collection plus his labs, and they just like happen to be over the academy. You know, and so it's kind of cool that we all get to like straddle both worlds and get to be a part of both communities.
Yeah, that's like such an incredible point to make. So, you know, for everybody who knows Jason, he's as Amanda said, one of the Academy's ornithologists or bird scientists. So that collection that happens to be his teaching resources is one of the best collections of bird specimens in the Americas, which is an incredible resource for any student to have access to.
Yeah, and like he gets to teach his ornithology lab class in the bees lab, like it's like the bees classroom lab at the academy. So it's like when he needs to show them things, he like brings a cart down from the collection, right? Like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you can just pop upstairs and grab
right.
like John Audubon's bird or something.
I forgot something upstairs, right? Like, yeah, it's pretty great. The same for a lot of the like paleontology and like geo collections as well. We have like these amazing teaching collections at the academy. And so it's like, you don't have to bring it to campus. The students actually come to the academy. A lot of students have classes there. We have a classroom and a lab. And so they get to experience that as well there, which is great.
This has been fantastic. David and Roger, is there anything else you'd like to add on?
I mean, I will say, make sure that, you know, having been at the academy since '95, I guess it is that when we made the integration with Drexel, now we have the behind the scenes, all the undergraduate and graduate students working away. I mean, beforehand we did not, and it was a little quieter. Now we have a robust, you know, 2 classrooms, the co-ops that come in, the interns for various students. It's just a nice environment, a nice academic environment.
Absolutely. I'll second that, David, as well. Having students in our building has infused an energy into the Academy's, you know, own research and science. Having that excitement and all of those ideas just kind of in the building all the time has been really fantastic, really exciting.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, guys. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. I will put out one last call for questions. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all. Ooh, here's a good one. All right, here's a good question in the chat.
That's a nice big comment.
It's good. So Dick says, in the summer of 1968 and 69, oh, you worked at the academy collecting water samples, doing water chemistry. It was just your summer job, but a formative experience that affected the development of Dick's entire career in ecology and environmental science. Oh, it's great to see you too, and to see all these students.
Come on back.
Yeah, come on back.
Always use some volunteers, sure.
We have so many labs. We can always use more hands. Dick, this is really fantastic.
Thank you for joining.
Touches all of us to know that was such a incredible, informative part of your own education and career. Tennessee's not that far. Road trip. And we hope and we see that many of our students and other staff find the same thing about their experiences at the academy. Well, I could not think of a better note to end this on. Thank you all so much for joining us. We hope to see you again for more of our Members Week activities. We're only about halfway through the week, and this has been great. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, Amanda and David and Roger.
Quite welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.